So with the Nintendo Switch 2 situation, there's definitely a lot of things to talk about, and most notably the Nintendo Switch 2 editions. Now these are something that pretty much everyone knows about. You might like them, you might hate them, you might find that Nintendo is doing this all wrong. But in this case, they might be leaving some things wide open on the table. So what's going on, everyone? How's your day going? Let's get straight into the video. Okay, so there's definitely a lot of topics when you really come to think about it. Nintendo Switch 2 editions or remasters and remakes of older games. Now, honestly, these are two situations that definitely would help Nintendo's whole situation. One of the big reasons why we have Nintendo Switch 2 editions is in fact because development times are so much higher than they were. So they keep releasing Nintendo Switch 2 editions to keep us nice and happy, nice and cozy with our Nintendo Switch 2 and having a great time. But don't you think that it would be much better to see some fan favorite games return? Instead of even just remastering them, just put them on the system and there you go. Look what happened to Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. Those games took off and it honestly was really cool to see them return. If you really wanted to play those games, well then guess what? You can go on the eShop and purchase those games. If you don't want to, that's completely okay. They should honestly do something like this that allows you to play the older games. Like the Wii U, The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker for sure, Twilight Princess, and other games that are stuck on the system. It definitely wouldn't take much to take those games and slap them on the Switch and there you go. That would be income for them and it also would be fun for us. It honestly would be a win-win situation if they really wanted to do this, because honestly, I'm just spitballing here, but this would make the most sense. Instead of going back to your older games, like for example Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and giving you an expansion pack about 3 years after the game released, you could have just released one of the older Kirby games, like for example Kirby Triple Deluxe. You don't really need to do anything to that game, although it was a 3DS game. Well then, you go to it, you just tinker a little bit of the settings, and you make it side-by-side gameplay. Or you just get rid of the bottom screen in half. Like honestly, it worked completely fine just playing that game without any touchscreen and without anything. Because the entire game was essentially on the top screen, and it was only like your powers that was on the bottom, the map, and stuff like that. That wasn't really super important to have the bottom screen, although there was one game mode in that game, which was the DDD bounce, where you had to bounce on the drums. That was played on the second screen, of course. But overall, my point being, I honestly think that older games returning would make more sense than Nintendo Switch 2 edition, because first off, you would cut the development time away from the actual games and put them for these Nintendo Switch 2 editions, which doesn't really make sense in my opinion. Because just look at it this way. If we, for example, were going to be getting a Nintendo Switch 2 editions of another Mario Party game, then that would take away from the whole other Mario Party experience, like Super Mario Deluxe Party AAA or something like that. It could be called, who knows, but honestly, then you're taking up, let's just say, 6 months away from development time. I could be wrong, it could be 3 months, but the point being said, you're taking time away from those games. Instead, you already have some games that are left waiting on another platform, which is like Kirby Triple Deluxe, Pokemon, the list can go on and on. Wind Waker really wants to see return the HD version this time around. Twilight Princess HD, these are all games that you could quite easily take these games, slap it in a double pack and sell it for like $70. Like probably everyone would buy that because it's like, hey, we want The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD and we want Twilight Princess HD. There you go, double pack them. Honestly, that would work a lot better than we have right now. Like, you could probably take a lot of older games, dual pack them, and then here you go. You got these games returned. So that's your monthly game. It would make a lot of sense. Like, I don't know if I'm just going crazy here because maybe I haven't played some of the games or just want the games returning, or like am not the biggest fan of Nintendo Switch 2 editions. I don't know, it could be something like that, but I just think that these old games are special and they're precious to me in so many different ways. Like for example, The Legend of Zelda A Link Between Worlds. This is a game that was like a fan favorite game, my favorite game, favorite Legend of Zelda or 2D Legend of Zelda. This one really is awesome, and you could easily pack it in or dual pack it in with the Legend of Zelda, the Triforce Heroes or whatever. that game would go together in some ways. Or if you wanted to, you could just sell it separately. Like you either get some sort of physical and then you get a digital version of something else. Maybe it's because it would cost Nintendo too much for packaging if they were to do every single like port known to mankind, but at least it gives other players a chance to play like 3DS games, DS games, a lot of these games that have been stuck on those platforms for over 10 years, which is definitely really crazy in my opinion. So I don't know, I find this to be definitely a very interesting topic, or something that's just like, well, I mean, of course we want old games, but Nintendo is kind of stingy with their old games. They like to keep them for like sort of like a safety net. If one of their games fail, or if one of their games isn't super big, it's super juicy, full of content, then they'll release this game and have an influx of sale, instead of just releasing it on this specific day and then people aren't gonna want to buy the same thing. It overall doesn't make the most sense why Nintendo just doesn't want to re-release them. If Nintendo is so like want the money out of like consumers or whatever, don't you think that re-releasing games would make more sense? Like I'm kind of crazy that this doesn't already exist, because look at the Wii U and look at the 3DS. You had something called Virtual Console, which had a lot of older games, and it wasn't just old games like NES or SNES or whatever the case may be. Playing on the 3DS or the Wii or whatever, the Wii U, you were able to buy Wii games from that. You were able to buy DS games, and you were able to own the DS games in some ways. I mean, it's not necessarily physical, but it still was the digital copy of that game. So honestly, this could make a lot of sense if they see them return. But anyways, I find this to be really interesting, really intriguing. Like right now, I feel like Nintendo is using Amiibos in some way for the release of the games, because we've been seeing Amiibo. Like instead of releasing the Amiibo when the game actually comes out, they released the Amiibo like 6 months later, so then I guess if you really want it, you can go and replay the game if that's what you want, which to me doesn't make any sense, because don't you think that it would make more sense to pick up the Amiibo when the game is just coming out, because then you can get a chance to play that game, and then you'll be seeing people, okay, I want to buy the game and I want to buy the Amiibo, and then I can have the full experience on day one. So technically Amiibo are also using some of that slot for like unique game slot, so Amiibo could technically fall into that game slot place, because the Mario Galaxy movie Amiibos, that game came out in like September or October or whatever it was, and now we got recently just released the Mario Galaxy Amiibos for that. So anyways, I'm really interesting to how Nintendo is doing this. But overall, don't you think that old games, or just DS, 3DS, or even games that aren't even on NSO would be much better to just be re-released, and there you go. Same thing goes with NSO in some way, because they don't really re-release the NSO super quickly. We've been waiting for Mario Party like 4 or 5 or whatever the case may be for the longest time, and we still don't have it on the system. Like what the heck, they announced it when the Nintendo Switch 2 was officially unveiled, that was April of last year, and we still don't have half the games that are even there. We don't even have Mario Sunshine, so technically they're using that as one of those games as well, which doesn't even take any development time. All it is just like a ROM on an emulator, and there you go, you're playing your game. Anyways, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think I just rambled on for no complete reason? Or do you think it actually makes sense? Because I honestly think that I'm on to something here. Doesn't it make sense to release old games instead of keeping them locked away in some shadowy darkness? Anyways, thank you so much. Thank you for being part of the rambling. Anyways, hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one.